All right, I'm sure you heard that, right?
I did.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the College Time Podcast. My name is Derek DeBerger. With me is Jacob Bates. That's right. Sam was caught up. He's caught up today as of filming and tomorrow, which is our backup filming day. So we were in a little bit of a scramble. And our good old buddy, contributor to the podcast, number one fan, and Division III assistant coach, Jacob Bates. He's our guest host today.
You got that right. I'm excited to be a part of the show.
Yeah, the his audio. He's using the AirPods, but it's
I think, yeah, I think I have a nice headset like you. Should I try that?
no, we've already started.
All right, let's do it then.
It's an it's an episode. We'll put up with it. All right. I
There we
mean,
go.
first things first. Florida State lost. We Football was back, and Florida State immediately lost.
Mm, uh, Are you surprised?
Not really. No.
Uh, I can't say that I am either. I mean, I know like they're ranked number 10 and everything, but they just, I mean, it looked like they got bullied on every side of the ball. Like, yeah.
I think their defense put up a better fight than people would believe. I mean, there were like what, two out of like four, maybe even three out of four of Georgia Tech's scoring drives. They just were explosive. They did
Hmm.
what they want, and that's Georgia Tech has a very good offense, but I think Florida State showed that they still have a very good defense. Because if you look at the stats of those games, Georgia Tech didn't get a lot of yards, rushing or passing.
Hmm.
And so I think that the real issue is just that offense is not what it was last year.
Yeah. Yeah. DJU, I mean, he's on his third school, um, and he's still struggling, man. It's one of those things that as a person, you hope he kind of gets it together and like has some confidence. But man, going out there, he just doesn't look like entirely comfortable.
No, I mean ever since he's been at Clemson, he's looked like a statue in the pocket. I mean, he
Hmm.
just sits back there, and then he wills it,
He does.
wills it where it's gonna go.
Those his I think it might have been the first quarter or maybe the first half. Like his stats looked like he was 9 for 12 for like 100 yards or something like that. And but they showed his air time on the ball.
Stinking job.
It was 0.5 seconds. Like, just quick outs and like let his playmakers do what they do. And I mean, it worked. And then it's just I don't know how sustainable that is for like a season.
It depends on. I mean, you can do that. There's coaches whose entire system is that.
Hmm. Yeah.
You just have to get creative with it. I don't think they got creative with it. I think Georgia Tech figured them out, and then Florida State just didn't adjust because that
Yeah.
drive where Florida State looked like, oh my God, they're going to play bully ball all game long. Like Georgia Tech
Hmm.
still sucks, and it might still not be very good. We don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they passed the ball one time, and it was like a swing route, and then everything else is just running it down their throat.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's probably going to have to be Florida State's formula, I would imagine, for this year. And it's not like they have a backup that they can really rely on. Their backup right now is Glenn, who was their third
Okay.
string last year. Who the only games he played were the ACC championship and the Orange Bowl.
Yep.
He was abysmal in both.
Yes, he was.
Going against two good defenses, but still not a competent quarterback.
No, and definitely not a top 25 quarterback at that.
No.
And I mean, obviously we're kind of talking down Florida State, and you mentioned it. Like Georgia Tech has looked good. Like there was like, and I know you were kind of high on them before the game and have talked about it kind of all preseason, but like they looked like a really good team. They looked like a top 25 team,
Yeah.
and I think I mean, they didn't dominate the game, but I mean, they kind of showed that they belong, and I mean, I think they're going to have a great year if they kind of carry the momentum with them after this first week.
Yeah. Brent Key he's a good coach, but he's a phenomenal motivator. So when they play big teams, they get up. And
Hmm.
number 10 in the country, that's a big game. Also, I've talked about it. Haynes King is one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC
Hmm.
for several years. Even though it's kind of been down in football, they've had great quarterbacks somehow. It's
Yeah.
a weird dichotomy between the actual level of play that for like the last 3 years and the talent of quarterbacks.
Hmm.
Haynes King is a really good quarterback. Like, I mean, I said it, we're gonna have to see what that offense looks like against I mean what that defense looks like against an offense that people can competently uh rely on to score points.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Um, one question or I was gonna say, do you like? I have a player comparison for Hayes King. I feel like he kind of looks like a Tim Tebow kind of, just like with his build. And I know like obviously it's a very high comparison, but I just like I see similarities between the two and like style of play.
he's got a weird throwing motion.
He does, and yeah, but I think that would be my. Yes, I know. But yeah, that was kind of just at least somebody that came to mind. Like, oh, he kind of resembles him, and obviously that's a very high praise like person to kind of try and live up to. And I'm sure he probably won't. But great. I mean, I feel like he does have a great future and had a great week one, kind of set the tone for him.
Yeah, he was a very highly rated recruit. Went to Texas A&M. Apparently, uh, who was their coach? Jimbo Fisher. Apparently,
Mm-hmm.
Fisher just broke him because when he got to Georgia Tech, all the coaches like, we just had to retrain this guy to play. He's still got 2 years of eligibility. I don't think he's gonna have the talent around him that Tebow had. Uh,
Yeah.
I think he's a much better passer than Tebow, and he's a good runner. He's a very effective runner, but he's a different runner than Tebow. Tebow was just,
Mm-hmm.
but Haynes King, he's got speed. He's got a little bit of agility to him.
Yeah, I think so as well.
The
Yeah, I mean, they will definitely be ranked in my top 25 this week. I know Georgia Tech. Yeah.
Yeah. When we don't do, yeah, so we don't do a preseason, I mean, sorry, we don't do a poll after week 0. We're like the AP. But yeah, I would be hard pressed to see Georgia Tech not in the top for
Yeah. Yeah.
up to an FCS team. That would ooh, talk about a night and day.
Yeah. Yeah.
One last thing before we move on from Florida State. So Paul Feinbaum, noted idiot, uh, said Florida State was going to end the year unranked. Maybe he doesn't look so dumb now. There's one top 10 team every single year that starts preseason ranked top 10, ends the year unranked. Last year was USC.
Yep. Oh, I know. Oh, I'm familiar. I'm a weekly listener. You know that. Yeah, I think I know you've mentioned in the past couple of weeks that you think it could be Notre Dame.
I could,
It, and
yeah,
I mean, coming from a Notre Dame fan, and I disagree with you, but I do see how it like you can see that it could be Florida State. I mean, with their schedule and kind of who they have to play, and I mean, if you can't, I mean, that first game of the year, if you like take that to heart and like actually like use it to motivate you and kind of learn from it, you can definitely go on and continue to have a good season. And one loss, I mean, now with the new playoff system, like you're not out of it by any means. So I'm thinking it's definitely a possibility. I mean, I don't know.
I'm
We'll have to see.
I'm inclined to say that they're not going to end up unranked, and the reason I think is I still believe too strongly in their defense. I think
Mm-hmm.
that defense is still really, really tough. They held a very good Georgia Tech offense to not the best day, in all
Mm-hmm.
honesty. And you're going to run into teams in the ACC that you can just muscle out with defense and win those games.
Yeah.
We've seen people do it in the SEC for years. Louisville kind of did it all throughout last year, having a top 20 defense and a pretty below average offense.
Mm-hmm.
With a similar situation. I mean, Louisville's quarterback last year, especially towards the end of the year, just like didn't throw across the middle of the field. So,
Yeah, that'll hurt.
I mean, if BJ, if he loses confidence after this, you can still win some games. You can still put together 8 or 9 wins just off the back of your defense alone.
hmm
It's harder. Gets harder. They have Miami and Clemson and Notre Dame still on that.
And Notre Dame, yeah. So on that, and as on that kind of same note, that Notre Dame Florida State game that was kind of down the line, like could be a potential top 10 big game. Now it's kind of like, is Georgia Tech Notre Dame, like could that be a big game because they play, and I wonder if those just, and it kind of hurts Notre Dame's strength of schedule.
Maybe. It
Yeah, I mean,
depends.
all depends. Yeah, yeah, but
Kind of similar to how last year no one really had Duke too much on their radars. They were coming
mm-hmm,
off a good year one under Mike Elko, but no one was like, "Oh yeah, Duke, they're gonna come out of nowhere and be really, really good." No,
yeah,
they just stormed out of the gates to start the season, and then Ryan
mm-hmm,
got hurt, kind of derailed their year. And Notre Dame also played them.
yeah.
Was College Game
Notre
at that game?
Yeah, I think so. And that's the game Riley Leonard got hurt.
Screwed their season, yeah.
Yep. And now he's the Irish quarterback, so it all comes full circle.
He's a solid quarterback.
Yeah. Open up week one against old Mike Elko.
We will get to that in our pickups.
Yes, we will.
The next most important game, um, in week 0. There's only 4 FBS games. SMU beating Nevada, not unexpected. However, they were favored by about 30 points.
Mm-hmm.
By what did they win by 4?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, and we were kind of talking about it as it was happening. Like like they just did not look, because they were a pretty solid team last year, and
yeah.
just did not look. I mean, Nevada, and maybe Nevada, like maybe we'll give them credit down the line. Like, hey, they're like a decent team, but like,
They have a new coaching staff, so it's kind of crapshoot.
yeah, I mean, at this point, it's hard to tell, but I mean, SMU did not look great on, and so kind of, I mean, new ACC member, you got to go and compete against some of the best of the best now, and if you're struggling on the road in Nevada, you're gonna have a reality check
Yeah,
come ACC time.
yeah. For SMU, everyone, I really much, as far as their quarterback goes, I was just deferring to others, like analysts who were former college quarterbacks, who were like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's really good. He's the real deal." And I was like, "Okay, sure, I'll trust you," because I hadn't really watched a lot of SMU play. I watched them play Tulsa, but for some reason, I watched multiple Tulsa games last year, and
Big
Tulsa,
team, America's team.
America's team, so was garbage last year when SMU was just waxing. Yeah, it's Tulsa. They're terrible.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't really get a good impression going into this season on Preston Stone. A lot of analysts said he's very good, and I was like, okay, I'll trust him. I know I really like Rhett Lashlee as a coach. They had a good defense in the American, but they didn't have a strong defensive line or strong offensive line. But they really attacked that in the portal. I was feeling very confident about SMU. I was like, I'm high on this team. I predict him to go like 11-1.
I know. I was thinking about your ACC predictions, and I was like, that's what made me text you in the first place. I was thinking like, I know Derek was really high on him, but we learn, it's early. It's early. Maybe that's their first loss
The
and
dream
only loss.
the dream is not dead for 11.
No.
They they're currently 1-0. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, learn from it, move on. It's a long season, and maybe it's just kind of like a reality check of like, we can't sleepwalk through games that we might not think are super important,
yeah,
because every game when in the 12 team playoff, like every game matters, even I think even more.
I think bad losses are going to matter more than they have.
Mm-hmm.
Well, while you can still win your conference and get in if you're in a power conference now, a bad loss kills your at-large bid.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
bad one. Some teams also just get out to really bad starts. Like Virginia Tech last year, I think started off like 1-4, maybe 1-3. Um, Arizona started the year off, I think 2-3 last year, and then one just rattled up.
Yeah.
So sometimes, and then Scott Satterfield, current Cincinnati head coach, notoriously awful at getting his teams ready for the start of seasons. Some coaches are bad. Maybe Rhett Lashlee's not the best coach at that. They lost.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you attribute that to coaching, or do you what do you really think that might have been?
I think it's coaching because I think without a shadow of doubt, they are more talented than Nevada. But I think
Mm-hmm.
it's the coaching. Will the coaching improve throughout the course of the season, and will it hold up come ACC play? We don't know, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the,
it'll be interesting to see. I mean, new team, new conference. You were kind of hoping, I guess, probably as an ACC, like you have your favorite teams in the ACC, that they would come out and kind of like look really good and like kind of like and for your personal picks, um, but for the whole point of like them looking good and kind of building into that ACC play, that I'm sure it didn't give you too much confidence, struggling to pull one out against Nevada.
I looked at that because the first I didn't watch the whole game, but the first interception that Preston Stone threw, that was just a bad pass. He didn't put any air under that. He tried to
Just,
throw it on the line. And he
mm-hmm.
just tried to loft over, and I was like, oh my god, you get bullied by Riley Leonard. Yeah, it's Riley Leonard. Nope, it's a quarterback. Quincy Riley. Hit twice. Sorry.
Oh, good, man.
Thanks. But no, that didn't give me confidence as far as the how people are going to view the ACC. Didn't give me confidence in that game. The other game, there were four games. One of them was Hawaii. That wasn't an interesting game at all. The other
46-mile-an-hour winds.
was it 46
Yeah,
mile?
yes.
There
It was.
a windstorm in the game we were going to talk about now.
Yes.
Montana State, New Mexico. Uh,
I saw that.
the wind started in the middle of the game. It the first gust it blew so hard that it blew one of the New Mexico players off sides, and they penalty on him, and it gave Montana State a first down.
I did not know that.
Yeah, the windstorm started. Some guy was like, had his hand in the dirt and just like blew over 5 yards. Yeah,
Hey, got to be stronger. We can't have that. And I didn't know that happened. The first thing that I could tell was it might have been a play calling sheet or something, just like flies across the field like mid play, and I was like, that's got to be somebody's like play sheet, just like right over the other team. Got to change up the calls.
quarterback catches it. He's like, "Oh, they're in Tampa too."
Yeah. Did I don't I'm sure you're aware, but now quarterbacks and coaches can talk in the headset, until 15 seconds on the play clock. Did you like take note of that at all, or kind of see? Do you have any opinion on how that might affect the game?
I mean, I think it's good. I think I don't. I really all the rules that were passed this year are kind of to me they're just like common sense. Like, yeah, why wouldn't you have that? It just makes sense.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting because inevitably there's going to be a game where it goes out, and it's like, okay, well, what do schools do to deal with it? Um, I think it's going to be a little bit of a new challenge as far as like road environments because it's going to be tougher. You already saw Haynes King in
Mm.
Dublin, trying to hold his hands to his ears to block in the sound so he could hear. Um, yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be a lot less science.
Yeah. Shout out to Connor Stallions, wherever he's at these days.
He's coaching. I think he's defensive coordinator of a high school somewhere.
Good for him.
Oh, yeah,
Good, good for him. I'm sure he's a really good scouter.
I'm sure.
At least he's allowed to go to other high school games. He didn't have to worry about it.
Probably, yeah.
I did see that Michigan. I don't know if that's on our talking points. They were recently alerted about the allegations involving Stallions. I'm not sure.
Yes, that's from that happened. Oh, wait, are you saying it's
This, yes, they just came out like the last day or two. Like before, it was like recruiting violations, right?
uh no, it was the Stallion stuff. That was before it was a leaked draft of that.
Okay,
So people had an idea of what the pun like who's going to be involved and what the allegations are going to be, but it wasn't official because it was just a draft.
I
Uh,
gotcha.
if I haven't heard anything, I imagine the draft is very similar to what it was. It's 13 coaches, including Sharon Moore.
Um, so 18 hours ago, um, so Michigan did receive notice of allegations from the NCAA about Connor Stallions. So
So it was the official, in a way, draft.
yeah, yep.
Yeah,
So we'll see what the repercussions are of that.
it's probably nothing.
Probably nothing, which knowing the NCAA sounds about
Yeah,
right.
cheat in such a way that it's clear and obvious that you have the upper hand in every game you play.
Go ahead. Yeah, that's fine. We'll talk about it down the line, and then we'll just let it go. Congratulations on your national championship. Uh, all those wins.
But yeah, so with Montana State, New Mexico, basically the notable thing is that an team beat an FBS team. I called it. I predicted it.
You did.
Sam did not. Technically, so a lot of people are calling this an upset. Montana State was actually favored by 13 and a half going into the game.
They were, yes, and which um, I think it's the first time an F, FCS team was favored over like that of an FBS team and won. I think is what I seen.
I know that it was the sixth time ever that an FCS team was favored by double digits over an FBS team. I don't know if all those other teams previously had lost.
Okay,
I know that it's only the sixth time that's been that large of a spread. But
and that was a buy game from New Mexico. Paid them $300,000 to come
it's,
and beat
it's
them.
I mean, they have Bronco Mendenhall. Bronco Mendenhall is a great coach. I knew that he was going to keep that game closer than 13 and a half. But
Yeah, you
it,
did. You did pick that.
yes. But it's year one, and Montana State is a very good FCS program.
They
That
are.
personally, this is my own personal opinion, no insider information. I think they want to make the move to FBS at some point.
So I think so as well. Just kind of agreeing with you. I think being out, spending some time in Montana. The people that I lived with were Montana State alum, and like they love their Montana State football out there. Man, they like so Montana State's a couple hours away from where I was staying, and they drive down to home games. They have season tickets every single home game. Like it's just like that's just a thing to do. Like you just go
Not,
support the Bobcats.
it is not Montana, honestly.
You
I
are
mean,
correct.
like on one side of the state, you have Montana State, and the other side, you have Montana.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's the game. That's a fun
Yeah,
rivalry.
yeah. Was
I
Montana lost in the championship this past year, right?
did. They did.
Did Montana State make the playoffs last year?
They did. Montana
Okay,
State, they lost, and I think the quarterfinals to North Dakota State,
okay.
uh, powerhouse.
Yes, great program.
Had a little bit of a down year though last year.
They did. South Dakota State won it all, correct?
Yes,
The Jackrabbits.
their first ever undefeated season.
Oh wow.
Didn't lose a single game. And this, and also, so they went back to back. This is a little tangent. They went back to back. This is their first. So is their only their second ever national championship.
Wow. That's
Strange.
that's impressive. I mean, to go back to back and then, I mean, kind of build on it maybe this year, repeat. Some are saying.
They probably will.
Yeah.
I think I
The,
think
the
I
the
think that
dominance at that level is just like it's it's hard to. I mean, like obviously FBS programs, you kind of have the programs that are like keystone like programs, but once you get into those FCS schools, like they're really hard to beat. Like they just reload every single year.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like if you're like if you want serious playing time, but you're only like a 2, 3 star recruit, it's like, hey, no, come to Fargo, come to uh, I don't know where South Dakota State is, but come to the Dakotas.
Yeah.
You'll
You may not have anything to do here, but we're really good at football.
the cops will never ever report you.
Sometimes it's nice to have the law on your side.
It's nice to have Johnny Law in your pocket.
Yes,
Uh,
sir. It is.
Okay, I don't have Zoom, so we are limited on time, so we're gonna move on.
Okay. All right.
There's 3 bits of news. They're all pretty quick. One of them I couldn't find much on, but so Iowa has suspended Kirk Ferentz and I believe another assistant coach for the first game of the season. It's not like it's gonna matter. I think they're playing a bye game week 1. This is classic. Just like we found wrongdoing and they're gonna face punishment, and it's like, oh, they don't get to coach against Furman, right? That's a that's a killer right there.
Did they say what the violation was, or was just like a level something violation that
I
undisclosed?
So here's the thing. I didn't look into it at the time. I was like, oh, I'll look back into it later. Then I couldn't find the story later
Hmm.
because
So,
we're closer to the start of week 1, and so like news is just coming out, and it's like, okay, uh, Kirk Ferentz is suspended. That's probably fine because I mean it's just for a game. It wasn't serious stuff.
yeah, they'll be fine. I mean,
I don't think he's
it's
human. Which, fun fact, Austin Pease. This was not in our notes. Austin Pease, co-offensive coordinator, got arrested for human trafficking.
I saw that. It was him and 7 other people were, or maybe he was trafficking 7 other people.
I think 6 other people got arrested with him. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're into karma, Louisville minus 36.5 week 1 is big on the sports betting side. If you're a believer in karma, and they're gonna get what's coming to them.
I can't legally comment on that one.
Me either.
I can't gamble this year legally. Anyway,
Me, yes.
what?
We'll move on.
Okay, that makes sense. Anyway, so Colorado, we've talked about Deion Sanders' war, with Colorado reporters recently. It's weird. It's strange. He's recently, I say it's officially Colorado has, but I think it's because at his request,
Mm-hmm.
they have banned a reporter from asking him questions. They have not banned him from post game interviews. They have not banned him from pregame interviews throughout the week. They've just banned him from asking questions.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's kind of like a jerk move from Deion's point of view. You're a coach. Your job is to answer questions, whether they're tough questions, whether they're good questions or bad questions. There's plenty, but your job is to answer them to the best of your ability and like get information out about your team.
Yeah, I mean that's actually in most coaches' contracts is
Mm-hmm.
media availability, and it's actually quite a substantial portion of their contracts oftentimes. Um, Last year, Lincoln Riley suspended a reporter, which I thought was equally dumb, but I
Yeah.
it's just it comes from a string like after a string of bad looks for Deion. I it's not a good it's just not a good look by any means.
No, it's not.
On the flip side, he wrangled up some NIL for players on his team that have children.
I saw that.
Just give them bank accounts and free money, essentially, which is like the best publicity you could possibly have. Why are you going out and doing this?
yeah, that same reporter is going to ask you is I mean theoretically may ask you like a good question about like a good thing that you're doing. Like
Yeah, might give you.
it yeah, exactly. It has I mean, yes, answering tough questions sucks. It's not an easy thing to do, but he's he's been in the spotlight for so long that he's just done it throughout his entire career. You just answer tough questions, and especially if it's part of your job contract, you just do it. It sucks, but you got to do it. It's one of those things that like you don't really have a choice. I guess he does have a choice.
Like
Colorado.
breaching his contract because he's just suspending one reporter from asking a question. He's still gonna field questions, but it's just such a
Petty
control.
thing.
It's a petty, but it's also it's withholding. It's like gatekeeping the questions you get, like controlling media essentially.
Yeah,
Not conspiracy.
that's exactly what it
It sounded
is.
a lot more conspiratorial than I wanted it to. You know,
Hey, I mean,
it is.
yeah, it's just I think it's just silly. I mean,
Yeah. All right. Final bit of news: we have uh talks between the Big 12 and UConn resuming. They talked briefly last year, along with Gonzaga, for both teams to join the Big 12 conference. They're starting back up again this year, and UConn is trying to become a member of the Big 12 in all sports except for football, because they probably offer zero value in football, aside from the fact that they would be a glorified FCS team.
yes,
And we play them as just got a bye week.
yeah, pretty much. I mean,
Yeah,
I
Matt
think
was the first to report it, and then I think Pete Thamel of ESPN said that today, Monday, the Big 12 schools have met to discuss UConn, but no vote has been taken.
what do you think that there would be many opposed?
I did see, I don't remember what reporter was from, but I saw that there are six schools. I mean, how many schools are in the Big 12? Like 18, 6.
Yeah, I think so. Something. Yeah.
So I saw six schools are like a for sure yes, two schools are a for sure no, and then every other school is kind of on this. So
What does the vote? Does the vote just need to be majority?
it needs to be 75%.
Okay.
That's pretty much like any conference. It just needs to be 75% or more, which I don't know what that is in 18. What
Give me a second.
is that, like
We can.
50 schools? It's probably around 50.
Like it's 13.5
Okay,
with 18 schools, so
so if two
14.
are automatic no's. Two schools are like, no, I don't want UConn in. Only two more schools can say no before uh the next school that says no is the one that vetoes UConn altogether. Um, I mean, this would be interesting as far as the Big 12 is the best conference of basketball right now. UConn's the best program in basketball right now. Um, from a basketball standpoint, this is very interesting. Outside of basketball, I don't ever think about UConn. I hate to say it.
Never.
I just don't. And they're not coming in football either, which it wouldn't matter. They don't add anything.
No. Yeah, I think it's. I think it would be really good for UConn to kind of step into that realm for basketball, especially. But I think it's. From the way that you're making it sound with the two that are automatic no's, and then I think it'll probably. It sounds like it might be kind of tough, like for them to get in.
I think it could be a toss up. It's probably 50-50.
Yeah. Which I see both sides of it. Of like, yes, we can add another great school, like in terms of competition, especially basketball. We're talking mainly about basketball. When it comes down to it, like you said, you don't really hear about UConn and anything else.
Men and women's basketball, that's it.
Yes. And so like, yes, you're adding other schools and it would be great for like things like strength schedule and like those other components that go into like tournament resumes and things like that. But you also see the thing, I was like, well, man, that might be two losses. Like, so it really will come down to just, like you said, 50-50.
I think
Who?
It's quite literally just if people feel like it'll bring enough money,
Hmm.
because that's what this is all about. And unfortunately, that would mean UConn leaving the Big 12, which I like you not sorry, the Big East. Just read Big 12 and I just said it out loud. But that would mean UConn leaving the Big East. UConn is such a Big East school to me. I know they're not a religious school, but like, who cares?
Yeah, I mean, these
Just
days it doesn't matter.
and that would just suck. That would suck to see them leave the Big East because I really do like that as a basketball conference. But
Yeah,
all
yeah.
right,
I mean, it'll be interesting to see kind of what. Do you know? I guess did you say if there when there was a vote?
I don't know if when there will be a vote, but
Okay,
the schools talked about it.
gotcha.
All right, that is all we have for news. There's only 3 games to recap essentially, so that's all of our uh recapping. Moving on to the pick'ems. Jacob is going to be the Sam for this week, so I guess your pick'ems will count as Sam's for the season.
No pressure, Sam.
I think I think Sam went 2-2 and I went 3-1. So
Okay,
I've
all
got the
right.
lead, and I think fans did pretty good actually. They were this close to picking Georgia Tech over Florida State, and then they
I
picked.
tried. I tried to get the fans to swing the vote, but nobody would come with. I mean, a couple people came with me, but not enough.
I don't know, but fans. All right, but let's get to these pick'ems. First, we have a couple Thursday night games and a Friday night game, starting with North Carolina at Minnesota. I'm gonna take North Carolina in this one. I think they've been a consistent team the past few years, even though they don't have Drake May. I think their early season schedule is so easy. I think they're gonna get off to a good start, and also Minnesota's offense was so bad last year, like terrible, and I just don't see that changing. They brought in FCS quarterback who was highly touted, but I'm not buying it.
I agree. I would also. I'm also going to take North Carolina.
I'm
Like
really,
you said,
yeah,
consistent, and Minnesota is. I. I'm just. I'm just not confident, especially early on against a good team like North Carolina.
I'm realizing we have less than 2 minutes here, so
Okay.
we need to go fast. All right, next
Yep.
up, still Thursday night, North Dakota State at Colorado. That's an interesting one. I'm still going to take Colorado.
I am also going to take Colorado. I
All
think it'll be a good game though.
all right, next we have TCU at Stanford. That's on Friday. I'm taking TCU. I don't think it's close.
I agree. I also don't think it's close.
We have Clemson versus Georgia. This is going to be an interesting one to see where Clemson stands. I'm still thinking Georgia though.
Give me Georgia.
All right, we have Penn State at West Virginia. This is an interesting one. West Virginia's unranked but could compete. I'm leaning towards Penn State though.
I'm going to take West Virginia.
All right, all right.
Just a little switch up.
I like it. I like it.
I'm
Next,
not a I'm not a Penn State believer either.
yeah. Next we have Va at Vandy, Virginia Tech. Not even close.
Yes, yes.
Next we have South Dakota State at Oklahoma State. I think this is going to be a lot closer than people think, but I'm taking Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. Yes, good game though.
Then we have Miami at Florida. Swamp's a very tough place to play. I picked it preseason. I'm going to stick with it. Florida.
I'm going to take Miami. Florida's got a hard schedule.
All right. Next up, we have Notre Dame at Texas A&M. This is college game day. I'm going A&M.
Give me the Irish
Yeah.
through and through.
All
They're
right.
underdogs, so
Yeah. Finally, we have LSU versus USC. I'm taking USC. I really like Lincoln Riley.